That's Jimmy Stein. I'm Clint Lamb, and this is the Cover Crimson YouTube channel. Jimmy, once again, another nail-biting victory for Alabama, top 20 opponent, another one on the road. That's 3 top 20 wins in a row for Alabama. That's impressive. I don't care who you are. I don't care how it looks. Alabama has faced some adversity. They faced it in Athens. They faced it in Tuscaloosa against Vanderbilt and in Columbia against Missouri this past Saturday, and they are starting to become more battle tested. You know, I feel like they're doing a much better job as of late responding to adversity than really at any point last year. So let's start there. But before we get into, some of the more nuanced things that we noticed from the game, what were some of your initial takeaways from how things looked?
It was a really good win. I mean, period. I don't think a whole lot of SEC teams are going to just stroll into Como and win. Very good effort again on both sides of the ball. I think the offense did some things to help win the game. Defense did some things to help win the game. Another team win. It wasn't dominant. It wasn't, wow, Alabama looks like, this year's national champion. It wasn't that. There's some things to fix and some things to focus on as the schedule just continues to get tougher with yet another top 20 team coming to town next week. But overall, really like what Ty did. Really like the defense limiting Ahmad Hardy and to some extent Jamal Roberts, although he had a pretty decent game. I'm couldn't be happier in terms of the consistency. That was the question to me. I don't think the question anymore about Kalen DeBoer is he good enough to win the big games? Can he win in the SEC? I think that question's already been answered in just 1.5 years. But this is the question. Can you do it every week? That's the hardest thing to do. But can you do it every week? Let's keep in mind that with Alabama being, 5-1, ranked number 6, Ty Simpson leading or co-leading a lot of the Heisman straw polls, let's remember they've done it against the nation's number 2 schedule. Per ESPN, Alabama's played the second toughest schedule, and they're 5-1 with the quarterback maybe leading the Heisman race. That's impressive stuff, but the question still remains unanswered in terms of it was the issue last year where Alabama again played well at times and won big games, but can you do it every week? And that's what we'll find out over the next 6. I feel really good about one of those 6, the Eastern Illinois game. We all know we can all go ahead and put that in one column right now. But the other 5, all 5 are winnable. All 5 are losable.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah, I would agree with that. And, I think up and down, but there were a lot of positives. And the one positive that you can take away from both sides of the football, once again, is the ability to handle adversity. There were times, the way that the second half started, we've seen Alabama teams, Alabama, I guess last year, really maybe against Florida State, where something catastrophic happens like that, they don't respond well. They immediately kept battling. And what I mean is, of course, Ty Simpson's fumble. Well, I think it was the first snap of the second half, and then the defense allows them to go down, tie the ball game up. You could have stacked on that lead, having a touchdown lead going into halftime and getting the football to start. Instead, they tie it up, and the crowd's back rocking. They can kind of commit to Ahmad Hardy. I don't think we're talking enough about, yes, Alabama did a phenomenal job of limiting him, and we'll be talking about that here in just a minute. But I think it was also game script to an extent where Missouri found themselves down multiple scores at multiple points in the game. And so this idea of wanting to give your running back 25, 30 carries in that type of game script, it doesn't really mesh very well. There were moments where probably they could have committed to him more, like when they did tie the game to start the second half. But, that's just Alabama did a good job of keeping that offense, first of all, putting as much of the game on Pribula's shoulders as possible, and I don't think he responded very well. But then also putting it up enough points to where you had leads where they were out of their comfort zone and kind of had to play from behind offensively, which is not where they want to live. That, to me, I thought was pretty big for this type of game.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, the number one here, the biggest positive to me was this. there was a lot of fair questions, some of it posed by us, specifically me. Is Alabama good enough to stop Missouri's run game, or even good enough to do that? I mean, this is one of the best rushing attacks in America. Ahmad Hardy, I don't care what y'all saw on Saturday, I still compare the guy to the Ashton Genty type talents. I think Ahmad Hardy is spectacular. I think Jamal Roberts is probably one of the best 5 or 6 running backs to play all year long, and he's their number 2 back. Missouri's just designed to run the ball, and they do it really well. I think it was fair to ask before the game, can Alabama stay in this game? Because Missouri's strength sort of lines up with Alabama's perceived weakness. But they did a fantastic job. Jam Miller was the leading rusher in the game. If you'd have told me that before the game started, I said, did Alabama win 40-0? What do you mean Jam Miller's the leading rusher in the game? I mean, that's 40-0. So I think Kane Womack deserves a ton of credit. Second week in a row where I really feel like Kane Womack is sort of answering some critics here. And by critics, I'm talking about me. I'm the one that said, I don't know that they can slow down or stop this run. They did a phenomenal job on Missouri. Didn't control the clock. Alabama controlled the clock. Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts weren't the leading rushers. Jam Miller was. So they did a great job there. Did you shut it out? No. Jamal Roberts still averaged, I think, something like 10 yards a carry. Now, a lot of that came on one play, but that one play is big, and the one play always counts. For people that always say, yeah, but a lot of that came on one play. Well, the one play counts just like all the other plays count. It's big. It's big. It's big. Hey, if you run the ball 15 times and have 210 yards, because on 3 of the runs you ran 70-yard touchdowns, and on the other 12 you got nothing, I don't care. I'll take that. Say, yeah, there's only 3 good plays. Yeah. I'll take that. I think what they did a great job not allowing Missouri to dictate how the game was going to go, because Missouri wanted to dominate the game on the ground. And they did first and foremost, just a great job of that, just not allowing Missouri to control the game, which I thought was a real concern going in.
Yeah, and it's like you read my mind, because I was about to do, which I fully agree, that the long explosive, hey, if we take out this run or we take out this throw, they did this. I understand that that's pretty meaningless in a lot of ways, but I was about to do it anyways. So I'm glad you went ahead and showed the other side.
It does show that there's some consistency there, and you had, the one brain fart. That's fine. That's fine. I'm just saying it counts. I mean, obviously big plays are a part of the game.
What it is it's pretty much an extension of Vanderbilt, where like Vanderbilt had the long run with the running back. You had Pavia, who had an explosive long run. If you remove those two, the run defense actually was pretty good. But from a numbers standpoint, you're still giving that up because they got a touchdown and they got in scoring position based off of 2 runs. So, yes, that 100% counts. But when you talk about the running backs, Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts, if you take away that 39-yard run, he would have had, I think, 4 carries for 11 yards, which means he would have averaged less than 4 yards a carry. Yeah. And collectively, Ahmad Hardy and Jamal Roberts would have been sub 4 overall. Like Ahmad Hardy ran for 4.3 yards per carry, which is, a pretty decent, pretty respectable number. It's the same number as Jam Miller. We're looking at it like, great job, Jam. And then we're looking at it like, Ahmad Hardy was terrible on Saturday. Like he had 55 yards after contact and he had 52 rushing yards. So he had more yards after contact than he did pure rushing yards. And the reason being is Alabama was hitting him in the backfield, or they were making contact near the line of scrimmage, 1 yard behind the line of scrimmage. And Ahmad Hardy he was doing what he does. I don't know if I have it in front of me, but he was making guys miss quite a bit. How many forced missed tackles did he have? 3. And it felt like it was more than that.
Right.
But, at the same time, 3 is still respectable. What I give, and what we're doing right now is we're talking about Alabama's defense, because I think that was the biggest, in my opinion, storyline of the game.
Agreed.
Relative to how we thought it was going to, how it was going to play out and how Missouri was going to try to win. But it was Ahmad Hardy. It was their ability to slow him down, not completely stop him. And he did some things, obviously, that, were exactly what you were expecting. Breaking tackles, making the first defender miss. But I will say overall, one thing I will give Alabama's defense credit for, it could be, LT Overton. It can be Jordan Renaud. It can be Yanze Pierre. All three of those guys set hard edges fairly consistently. And you also had guys like Jordan Jefferson, who set his hard edge when he was playing out there as kind of a strong side linebacker on the line of scrimmage. You saw guys like Zabian Brown, thought he was doing a good job of leveraging the football and forcing it back inside. Bray Hubbard at times did a good job of coming up and leveraging the football and forcing it back inside where he had help. I thought overall their ability to do that, and it was a collective effort. It was not just LT Overton. It was not just Yanze Pierre. You had backups and rotational pieces doing the same thing. You had guys like London Simmons getting up and down the line of scrimmage and moving laterally and making plays across the board. They made that outside zone life that Missouri likes to live extremely difficult. And to me, that is what started to unravel everything for Missouri, because it put the game on the quarterback's shoulders. And I don't think that he did a great job of responding to that.
He really didn't. He didn't have a great game. Beau Pribula did. He was not great, and that was a big help. I expected him to be a little better, but maybe Alabama got a little break with Kevin Coleman being a little dinged up. We saw him on an exercise bike in the first quarter. I think he only had 1 or 2 catches in the game. Obviously, when they're losing their best weapon, they're going to be less effective. But I said one of the things I was wrong about. I thought, if you do limit the run, Beau Pribula can hurt you. He's good. He's good. Kevin Coleman's good. Norfleet's good. And boy, Norfleet made a heck of a play in the game. But Beau just simply didn't rise to the occasion when Alabama put it on him. And hey, credit Alabama for that. I'm sure Alabama had a lot to do with it. They played 23 players again on defense. As you know, I'm not a huge fan of playing 23 guys. I'm not a huge fan of playing so many guys. But one thing I will give Kane Womack a major shout out, and those 23 guys, is they can play 23 guys, and there frankly isn't this huge fall off. It's not like when they do put the twos on the field that Missouri just starts running up and down the field. It's not the case at all. A lot of these guys that are coming in reserve roles to play some snaps are pretty good. And it's a little misleading. I know I keep reading this on Twitter. I get asked all the time, why is Damani starting at corner and not Dijon Lee? That's crazy. Well, I get that, but I also know Damani played like 22 snaps. Dijon played like 46. I mean, it doesn't matter who plays the first snap. To me, it matters who's playing the most snaps. And in that sense, clearly Dijon's already passed Damani up. He's playing significantly more snaps, twice as many snaps as Damani Jackson. And that's just one example of how, I think to some extent there's a transition there, not just the bench. But again, Alabama played 23 players, a lot of them up front, but those guys did really well. And shout out to Keon Keeley, who obviously had a great week of practice. The coaches let some people know Keon Keeley was going to play in this game. And I say that just because I happened to be listening to the radio broadcast when Tyler Watts said he expected Keon Keeley to have a big game today. And I'm like, that's someone told him that, because that would be a crazy out there thing to say without inside scoop. So when Tyler Watts said, I expect Keon Keeley to have a big game, I'm like, they told Tyler that Keon Keeley's going to play a lot today. And he did. And he played great. But I use it as a good example of why when I complain that we play too many players, LT Overton's the starter, that position, and then Jordan Renaud, and then Keon Keeley. And when you look at the snap distribution, that's how it lined up. Overton with the most, then Renaud, then Keeley. My only point is Overton's the best player there. He should be out there unless he's tired. Overton should be the guy until he's tired, and then take him out and for a few snaps. But Renaud's good, and Keeley really showed out. I thought, and earned to play next week too. So that's exciting. So as much as I complain about playing so many players on defense, I'm just like everybody else. I get excited when I see Keon Keeley make a play, or someone deeper down the depth chart, and Drake Kirkpatrick's out there, and Mincy's out there, and certainly on the defensive line, London Simmons again playing great. Biggest surprise on the team, as far as I'm concerned, is London Simmons. So the depth of talent on defense has been an asset for Alabama, despite my weekly complaints.
Yeah, I mean, it was Damani Jackson. He played pretty much exclusively that first drive.
Yeah.
and he played late when they were in dime quite a bit because it was, and this the one reason that Keon Keeley was out there, which we'll get to that in a second. But outside of that, between those two sandwiched start and end, he didn't see a lot of snaps. So for what everybody wanted, I guess a lot of people don't want him to start, quote unquote. And granted, with the way that things did start for him, it wasn't great. But kind of what people were wanting, they got in a lot of ways. Dijon Lee played 86% of the snaps. Davian Brown played over 91% of the snaps. So they are playing the most, or at least in this game, on the perimeter. Will that continue to be the case moving forward? We'll have to wait and see. But that is something that is very, very noteworthy. And I don't know. I mean, Alabama pretty much, they were selling out on that interception, that Dijon Lee interception late, because Johnson, the receiver, he was wide open. And I don't think that guy's part of the read. But Alabama had nobody out there. If for whatever reason they would have got him the football, I think it's pretty likely he scores. Yep. So a lot of people are going to see that on the all-22 and think, first of all, oh my gosh, if he could have got the ball to him, he's going to score. I mean, I don't think he was part of the read. And it almost felt like with the way Dijon bailed to the hash as quickly as he did and just left that wide open, they knew it was either a huge coverage bust by Dijon Lee, a massive, or they knew they weren't going there. Just 100% certain, because there's no way you're not even saying, we can take this risk because we feel like our pass rush, we're being aggressive, we're going to get after him. You wouldn't even do that, because if he does it, you don't just allow them to tie the ball game. More than likely you lose the football game. So I don't think that was the case. And it ended up working out exactly how they thought it was going to. And Pribula threw them probably the easiest interception of his life. Almost had a great interception earlier in the game. Definitely should have had it, but that was just making a play on the football, extremely long, using that length, getting up in the air, high pointing it, and just couldn't bring it in as he was coming to the ground. But I thought he played well. Keon Keeley, one thing that I do want to point out, kind of in those dime packages, the front right now, Yanze Pierre, LT Overton, Keon Keeley, and Deontay Lawson. So 2 bandits, a wolf, and an off-ball linebacker. No interior defensive lineman whatsoever.
Getting some speed out there.
Yeah, definitely. And, Keon Keeley, he played 14 snaps. 11 of them were pass rushing snaps. 11. We talk about getting Quay Russaw more pass rushing opportunities. Keon Keeley, I mean, he was out there exclusively to get after the quarterback. They ran some in some of those situations where they had dime out there. Otherwise, they said, get after the quarterback. That's the only thing you're responsible for. So would they have played out that way had they not had to be in a heavy passing mode down the stretch? I think he would have played more situationally. Would it have been 14 snaps, which is roughly about 25, I think exactly 25% of the snaps? Probably not, but he is a guy who's starting to trend in the right direction. That's for sure.
One thing I want to point out too about that Damani thing, I thought the interception that he dropped was a better play than the interception that he made, just because in 100%. terms of pure cornerback play and degree of difficulty in terms of what he did, or impressiveness in what he did, I thought the one that he dropped showed his ceiling more so than the one that he made. Now I know that's a big thing to finish the play. I mean, you got to finish the play, and I'm not excusing the drop ball, but wow, I think he really flashed how good he can be on that dropped interception. Really interesting about Womack going that creative with the defensive front in dime, because keep in mind, last year, not only did he not get creative up front in dime, there was no dime. I mean, everything was a lot more simple a year ago, and I'm sure a big part of that was just teaching these guys a new defense. You don't want to just throw everything at them and then they're lost. You do it in layers, and that was the first layer. And this year he feels a lot more comfortable in terms of adding all the layers, because that's something Alabama just simply wouldn't have done a year ago. But now they're doing it every week, to the point it's kind of hard to keep track of it all, frankly, because they change out personnel packages and the personnel. See, that's a difference. Saban would change personnel packages a lot to match up with the offense, down in distance, Saban was always changing the personnel packages, how many defensive linemen, how many linebackers, how many DBs. But what he wasn't doing was changing up the actual personnel. There was about 15 or 16 guys that played at the most, and that's who played in the game. Womack's doing both. He's changing out the personnel packages frequently to where you don't know how many linebackers are on the field. You don't know how many DBs are on the field, snap to snap. And he's changing out the personnel frequently, playing a lot more players. Again, playing 23 guys instead of Saban's, 14, 15 guys. So in that sense, it's a little dizzying to watch. Like, wow, look how they're lined up. Wow, look who's in the game. You almost say that snap to snap. While we're still talking about the defense, I do want to shout out guys who I think played their best game of the year. I like doing that every week. Like, who played their best game of the year so far? Nikiah Hill-Green, I thought was really good.
Yep.
This was a game for him. And by that, I mean, he's an inside thumper. So your inside thumpers should really, look good against teams that run the ball frequently. And it was, this game, I think, was custom built for him, and he answered. I thought it was Nikiah Hill-Green's best game in an Alabama uniform, coming 1 week after Justin Jefferson played his best game in an Alabama uniform. So those inside linebackers, I think, are getting more comfortable with all these packages, all the different ways they line up. Justin Jefferson now is playing more than 1 or 2 positions every game. I mean, they're lining him up all over the place. That means he's playing more than one position. That's a lot for these college kids to handle, but he's doing it well. But just a special shout out to Nikiah Hill-Green, best game of his career. Keon Keeley, best game of his career. LT Overton, probably the best game of his season so far, which is impressive to me in the sense that Missouri is primarily a running team. You would think LT would stand out the most against a drop back passing team because he's such a good pass rusher. But I thought LT Overton myself, I thought that was probably his best game. Zabian played really well too. They didn't test him a lot in the pass game, but I thought Zabian just being very active as a run defender is exactly what was called for this week.
Yeah, Zabian definitely, he brought it physically. Damani did not. I was the first touchdown that they allowed. I don't know. Obviously, he thought he was going to be an overthrow, but just the situational awareness bothered me a little bit, and it kind of seems at times like it was lackadaisical. Now maybe the coaching staff would feel differently. What tells me that they probably don't feel very differently was the fact that he didn't play a whole lot until they were in dime, and they had Zabian all 3 perimeter corners on the field at the same time. You just didn't see a whole lot more of him after that first drive, and it was yeah, and I mean, you're 100% correct with the off-ball linebackers. I thought Justin Jefferson once again was flying around. His ability to click and close when he sees it in coverage, even flow in opposite direction, very little wasted movement. I put it on Twitter. One of the clips I was talking about, you kind of see him flash and do that at least probably once or twice a game, bare minimum. And then his ability to not only change direction, but close in a hurry and just limit. I mean, it was a key third and 11, I believe, maybe a 3rd and 10, but he prevented them from getting a first down. And it was, I think, Jamal Roberts, if I'm not mistaken, that he got to and brought him down. Had he not been able to do that, definitely would have been a first down. And it was at a pretty critical moment. Nikiah Hill-Green, he seems to be seeing things well. I thought he was pretty good in coverage, to be honest with you. I always thought he's kind of been a guy who definitely is better working downhill than backwards. But, I mean, his ability to flow over the top of one play in particular and get to the sidelines and make a tackle, it's the one that hurt Kevin Coleman, where he got his foot. I mean, his ability to get there, Kevin Coleman can fly. Oh, yeah. And so I was really impressed with that. Overall, I felt like just once again, where it has to start against outside zone stretch, whatever you want to call it, is setting hard edges, and then the perimeter guys, the guys like Zabian Brown, if you're a safety coming down, leverage the football back inside where you've got help. And Alabama did that consistently. There were times where the play side set a very hard edge. Ahmad Hardy had nowhere to go, and he would bounce back to the backside, make one guy miss or something, and he would turn it into something. But otherwise, as far as playing the play side, I thought Alabama, there was 2 that come to mind. I thought LT Overton got reached on the opening play of the game where it was a wide zone, and I think he picked up Ahmad Hardy 6 or 7 yards. And then there was another one where Kelby Collins was playing a 5-tech on the outside shoulder of the tackle. He got reached, and while Xavier Brown forced it back inside and they limited the play. I actually think he could have cut up the C gap had he seen it, and he would have had just enough of a crease where he probably it wouldn't have scored a touchdown, but he certainly would have turned it into an explosive play. Outside of that, I think they played really assignment sound and took away what Missouri wants to do primarily offensively. And I think that caused them a lot of frustration on that side of the football. And in my opinion, ultimately ended up winning the game because Alabama was able to do enough offensively, and we'll talk about that later, to kind of dictate. But Missouri just, this is not how they want to win on offense. It's not how they've had to win on offense, and they did not handle the situation very well, in my opinion.
I mean, you have to have a good plan, and I think like you just laid out, I think Womack had a really good plan, and then it's up to the players to execute that plan. And I think check. I mean, the plan was good, the players executed well. That's coaching. And then the third part of that is the players that are executing the play have to have considerable talent because of who they're playing against in this league. And thanks to Saban's recruiting, thanks to DeBoer's recruiting, they're good enough to do that. So plan, execution, and then the fundamentals of football. It was just a really good defensive performance. It wasn't awesome. It wasn't 2011 Alabama or 2016 Alabama. I don't know who would be expecting that in this modern age. But overall, if you'd have told me before the game, I mean, Missouri did score, 24 in the game, so it wasn't like it was a shutout by any means. But nor should you expect to shut out a team like Missouri on the road in their place. Overall, good. Pribula has a less than average game. Hardy's production way down. Kevin Coleman had next to nothing. So overall, just a really good performance going forward. And now the assignment gets much, much tougher because the highest scoring team in the SEC comes to town next week. A big change for me is they do it much differently. We're going to talk about Tennessee in shows later on this week. Of course, I don't mean to touch on it now, but it's funny how this will be the third week in a row, Clint, where you're playing a very productive rushing attack. I mean, but they do it three different ways. I mean, Vanderbilt runs a ball, but it don't look like how Missouri runs the ball. And Missouri doesn't look like Tennessee in the way Tennessee runs the ball.
Right.
But make no mistake, Tennessee runs the football. I think a huge misnomer out there is the idea that Josh Heupel is the spread guy and he's got the wide splits on the offensive line and the wide receivers get crazy wide and all this, and they spread you out and then they chunk it all over the place. No. The first thing Tennessee does is they spread you out to create run lanes, and then they run the football. All of Josh Heupel's teams at Tennessee have run the ball really well, and this one is no different. So now the challenge is, after Kane Womack had such a good plan and they executed it so well at Missouri, now the plan has to look radically different. I heard a coach say one time, Clint, I've never forgotten this, and it's so smart to me. Talk about how much harder it is to coach college football than pro football. And I know to a lot of people, that's like, that can't possibly be true. But think about it this way. Alabama's playing a dynamic run team 3 weeks in a row that do things hugely different. You have to throw out last week's plan and have an all new plan. And with college age kids, you got to teach them that plan in a week. In the NFL, everybody's playbook is different on about 6 pages. It all kind of looks the same. And I know the football savants and the football, 404 guys and the football scientists, sure, there are differences NFL team to NFL team, but not these wholesale changes that you see in college football week to week, where you're playing Air Force's offense 1 week and then some wide open, Tennessee offense the next week. And it's just so radically different. And it's so hard to get your kids to, hey, everything you worked on last week, flush it. We're doing something totally different this week. And I just applaud college coaches that make those adjustments and do a good job of that.
A lot of 4-2-5 in the NFL. I mean, that's just kind of standard with the way that teams operate offensively. It's gotten to a point where even doing things like running 2 high safety looks, Mel Kiper's trying to get that thrown out. A rule to ban NFL teams from running 2 high because they want quarterbacks to be able to sling the football around, and it's too limiting to be able to go either single or split safety looks, in his opinion. So, and he's not the only one that feels that way. not going to happen, I don't think. Just like the tush push ain't going to get banned, but it kind of that tells you everything you need to know. On that level, it's about the Jimmys and the Joes, not the X's and the O's like it is on college. That's a big opinion of a lot of people, and I completely agree with it. One thing I will say, when you think about Alabama's defense, started the game off allowing a touchdown, allowed right before the half, then drive down the field, kick a field goal, allowed them to score a touchdown early in the second half, allowed them to go down and score a touchdown at the end of the game. I think 140 left when they scored that touchdown to make it 24. Essentially, every point was either at the beginning of a half or the end of the half. Otherwise, in between those two periods, they were playing well. They've just got to start faster and close better. They lost the middle 8 pretty badly. I mean, obviously, and they've got to do a much better job of that against Tennessee and really just in general moving forward. But overall, I do feel like the defense played pretty well, even based off the game plan, based off of what you could tell they wanted to do defensively, which was put it on the passing game and the quarterback. And the quarterback did have success running the football at various points. But even when he ran it, he never looked comfortable to me. That entire game, he looked uncomfortable. That is exactly what Alabama wanted to do. You had not seen him exposed to that up to that point because they had done so much to control tempo and pacing with their run game that he got to play everything and do everything that he did based off of that. And it was always complimentary. Nothing was ever on his shoulders. He didn't have to. And granted, yes, they found themselves down against Kansas and against South Carolina where they had to come back and stuff, but it was never to a point where you really felt threatened, where they really had to get out of their comfort zone as far as running the football. So that was a pretty key difference. They had a clear game plan defensively. They executed said game plan, and it ended up working out exactly how they wanted it to work out. Still think they got some work to do, but they are continuing to improve in the turnover-worthy place. There were a couple of more fumbles that they just couldn't quite get their hands on. There was the dropped interception by Dijon Lee, and they forced, 2 turnovers?
Two turnovers.
So it could have been up to 5 turnovers, 4 or 5. And so that's pretty good to be putting yourself in that position. That's one thing that I told people after the game. Like, Womack, I mean, say what you will about him, he was putting those guys in the position to make a lot of plays based off of what he teaches. He straight up, we talked about it last week. The forced fumble on Diego Pavia down in the goal line, they start every practice doing that exact type of drill. That is coaching, putting Justin Jefferson in a position to be successful. So while we can criticize certain elements of Kane Womack and everything, and you are 100% correct, as you move forward, having – what was going through my mind when Arkansas was up on Tennessee this past Saturday? Shit. They are they've been looking ahead to Alabama. They've been spending a couple of weeks on Alabama. Now, granted, they ended up winning big. They got it together, but that's where my mind went. Could Alabama afford to do the same with Tennessee, with Georgia, and Vanderbilt, and Missouri? Absolutely not. Not even a little bit. They have had zero chance. I mean, Sunday, I guarantee you, was the first time since the offseason they've really looked at Tennessee. Might have had an analyst or something behind the scenes because you got 47,000 of them who was maybe taking a look at things. I think everybody's kind of doing that. But as far as the coaching staff, I mean, this is the difficulty of this. There is no looking ahead. There is how do we win this week? And that's going to be a lot more difficult, certainly moving forward. You got anything else about the defense before we move on to the offensive side?
Really just a good job. Where Alabama's ranked in the SEC in total defense, and scoring defense in the top half of the league. Let's remember this is just a different SEC than before. I mean, to me, if you're in the top half of the SEC, you're a top 10 nationally. I mean, that's just kind of how it is. The SEC is just so dominant compared to the other leagues and who you're playing against. And I just want to keep reminding the fans who Alabama's doing this against. Again, so far, the number 2 schedule in the country with another top 20 team, heck, a top 11 team coming to town this week. So the schedule is just brutal. And shout out to the defense for keeping Alabama in these games and allowing the offense a chance to win the game.
Yeah, I mean, I saw something, Will Compton. I'm a big fan of Will Compton, busting with the boys. Yep. Big fan of what they do. But I saw what he posted about top 1 loss team, Alabama, their loss being a 14-point loss to Florida State. Oregon's one loss being the number 3 team in the country. And it's like, why don't we just look at who they're beating? And I understand losses do matter. We've argued losses in the past. Quality of loss does matter. But when it's so lopsided, because when you look at Oregon, their combined their wins have come against an FCS opponent and teams with a combined record of 8-17. Like, this isn't even close. So the one time they've played anybody with a pulse, they lost by double digits. You just don't have a lot to go on there. It's like when Alabama beat Louisiana Monroe. Did that right the ship in everybody's mind? No, there was nothing really you could take away from that. So, I mean, that's kind of, I didn't agree with that point. No. The wins do matter. 3 straight top 20 wins, 2 of them being on the road. And they've had to battle and figure out ways to win. So, that's certainly something that I think will continue to be a talking point as the season progresses. This Big Ten SEC college football playoff debate is really going to start cranking up now that we're crossing the halfway point of the regular season. And here in a couple of weeks, it's going to be the first college football playoff rankings. That's where things are really going to start. And hopefully Florida State stops making Alabama look bad, because we were talking about them potentially being the ACC champion and being in the college football playoff themselves. And they've now lost 3 games. Just amazing how much people get up for Alabama.
I remember after that Florida State game asking, here on the show, I just brought up hypothetically after you lose Florida State and everyone was panicking. And I brought up at the time, I'm like, hey, what if Florida State's really good? What if they're really good? What if they're a 10-2, 11-1 ACC champ and everyone's melting down when all you've done is lost to the best team in the ACC? Well, that was way, 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 way off. What I should have said, to be more accurate, is, what if Florida State's pretty bad, but it doesn't matter because Alabama's good?
Yeah.
And that's what really, I mean, if you're looking at it in terms of like what happened, I don't know, Penn State, lost to UCLA, but and then Northwestern, Alabama lost to Florida State. It's just football. And yeah, that's something we can talk about this off season when it gets here, because obviously we'll be able to fully hash out things in the off season. But one of the things we'll be talking about is, how did Florida State happen when you weren't just really ready to play in that opener? And it's kind of hard to answer, but it's also football. You're not immune to these things that happen to everyone else too.
Well, one of the things I'll say is, I don't care what anyone says. I don't care that they've dropped some games they really shouldn't have too.
Yeah.
They are better than the 2-10 football season that they were last year. I think Alabama took them as a 10-2 football, or excuse me, a 2-10, much bigger, much different. A 2-10 football team going into the game. I think humidity and I think Alabama kind of being up for this game, being ready as far as practicing in the mornings, I do think that probably helps. It didn't help as far as dealing with the heat and the humidity down in Florida in the first week. And we've seen what Gus Malzahn can do to a Nick Saban defense when you give him 2 weeks. I always say 2 because typically it was an Eastern Illinois type of game before the Iron Bowl where they would have pretty much 2 weeks to prepare. We all saw what he did with that. You give him 6-7 months to prepare for Alabama's defense. And I mean, not making excuses. I'm saying there's a reason that what happened. And these are all possibilities, or it's a combination or whatever. Doesn't matter. It's in the past. And we've always said that the losses, when you lose to Oklahoma, a 6-6 football team right there at the end of the season when everything was on the line, a little different than losing to a team in week 1 that was literally back in, at the end of August, beginning of September. So, don't think that's really going to affect them. That's going to do it for talking about Alabama's defense. We're going to be back on Tuesday talking about Alabama's offense. Appreciate all you guys tuning in. Get to rowback.com. Use the promo code COVER20. Absolutely love what they got over there. I've already got myself a couple of new things. Probably going to be getting some more. That sounds perfect for Christmas. Just getting that 20% off. It's not as, it definitely helps save a little bit of money around the holidays. So certainly appreciate them for that. Definitely get over to rowback.com. Use the promo code COVER20 for 20% off your order. Appreciate you, Jimmy. Appreciate everybody else, and we will talk to you guys soon.